Well, hello there. What is going on, everyone? This is it. We got the news. It's over. It's over. X-Wing and Armada are officially discontinued for development. It sounds like new product and even organized play support after this next year's Worlds. It sounds like this is the end for those games. We're gonna break it down. I'm gonna give you my initial reactions. I'm sure over time I'll have some slightly different takes on some of this, and I'll be honest, it does not come as a surprise. We've got so much kind of, at least from the Armada player in me, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is nothing new. But the X-Wing thing is a bigger shock. Although not a total shock, because again, we've been given some stuff. What's going on, everyone? I'm going to chat with you guys, but I'm going to give you my initial reactions first. I'll take questions. We'll go from there. But so first things first, let's see what are we talking about here. AMG just posted update on Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada. Of course, as soon as I saw this, I'm like, oh, I know what this is. And it's after a long and careful consideration, we are here today to announce the end of development of Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada. We are grateful for the community's passionate engagement and support over the past few years. Rising production costs, global manufacturing, and pandemic-related challenges have made it increasingly difficult to produce high-quality pre-painted miniatures, which ultimately led to the decision to end development. Although development is ending, we are not stepping away from these games entirely. Why not? Please do. Atomic Mass Games will continue to support tournaments and organized play for both games, with OP kits to be found in your local shops, culminating in the World's Open Championship at Adepticon in March 2025. Thank you for your continued support and dedication. So, yeah, that is the update. That is the update. I'll show it again here in a little bit. This is wild. I say it's wild. I don't know how wild it really is, because I think we expected a lot of this. I think we expected an awful lot of this. What's going on, everybody? We're going to break this down. AMG and Asmodee also. Asmodee made another announcement on Asmodee's social media, and they're like, and they basically said the same thing, except there was one extra line about, we have a limited amount of stock available, so get it while it lasts. In other words, they're not even doing reprints. And that is interesting to me. The fact that they're not doing reprints, that they talk about the limited amount of stock that's available, is very telling to me, because every other game that's ended development stays in reprints. You know? Imperial Assault continue to have reprints. I think AMG is kind of tap dancing around it by still kind of blaming the pandemic. Let me give you my initial reaction though. My initial reaction is, oh, finally, from the Armada standpoint, it's like, good, finally. Okay, so nothing else is going to be coming out. Maybe now the community can come together and come up with like a new standard or whatever. And I know that there's plenty of people doing various homebrews out there in various states of quality and or balance and or relative goodness. I'm not really interested in any of those right now. And I'll ask you not to link any of those, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to divide the Armada player base into factions of, we're playing Crabbok's Homebrew 2.0 and we won't play Armada with the people who are playing Crabbok's Homebrew 2.5 and stuff like that. So I'll be probably talking with other community leaders and before I throw any support or endorsement behind any kind of initiative. What we don't want to do is we don't want to rush things and jump the gun. There have been some discussions that have happened already. Because again, this isn't exactly a surprise, but I think it comes as a relief for me from the Armada community that, we're getting We're getting some closure. Oh, okay. It's finally coming to a close. Really? Because I'm pretty sure you never started development. How is AMG ending development for something they never began? That's what gets me as a question, because if you saw my interview with Will Schick and he's like, oh yeah, we had somebody on the team that was passionate about Armada. Yeah, well, that was Derek. It was Karnak. Karnak was responsible for getting Rapid Reinforcements 1, and from what I understand, Rapid Reinforcements 2 was based on some notes that were left over from old Armada developers, and that's why it was so broken, because it was just early hypotheticals that they just said, oh, let's just print it, and they're like, no, that hadn't been even play tested yet. That's my general understanding. I am very curious why there were play testers that were coming out saying that they were optimistic for this year, though. It makes me think that maybe there was something else that was planned that was thrown away. If you are just joining, the news just dropped from Asmodee and Atomic Mass Games that X-Wing and Armada have ended development. They're done. Nothing more ever for these games. They will still have organized play support for these games. However, that's it. Called it years ago. We all called it years ago. Well, at least for Armada. Now, for the next year, and ending in Worlds 2025, and that'll be it. So it sounds like there will be no Worlds for these games in 2026. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, here's the thing. X-Wing is the bigger shock to me. Because X-Wing is, granted, Armada's successful, huge, sells well, does great. The ending X-Wing development is pretty surprising to me. And Peter asks, how can they have a Star Wars tabletop license and not have any battles in space? That is bizarre. I guess technically Fantasy Flight still has Rebellion. So I'm going to do an obligatory thing. Star Wars Rebellion is now the only place for space battles. And if you saw my last Star Wars Rebellion video, I talked some mad smack about my buddy Sean, who I had not let him win ever. Well, not ever. I think he had beaten me maybe twice ever as Rebels, and he was on I was on maybe a 10-game winning streak as Imperials, and I got so bold as to say, you can't possibly win. And somehow, I think I jinxed myself, because I had him beaten twice. I had a massive force right next to his Rebel base, and he just managed to just roll all criticals, 100% criticals, killed my entire force. And then I had a secondary victory condition, and I played that, and I warped another massive force straight to his base, and he just happened to roll all criticals again. It was insane, and he did the unthinkable, and he actually beat me. So Sean, if you're watching, heck yeah, buddy, you earned that win. I didn't let you do it. Because I talked so much trash even during the game that you made me eat my words. So Rebellion's still a great space battle game, but that's the only space battle game. If you're just joining us, yes, Asmodee and Atomic Mass Games announced the end of X-Wing and Armada. My initial take is that, Armada we expected. There's no change. No change at all to Armada. We weren't getting anything anyway, and we still have nothing. We have the exact same new product development that we've had for the past 4 years. So yeah. That's not a big change. We still play Armada. Perhaps, I think community leaders are going to take a more serious look at finding out what happens. And you can still homebrew your stuff, but before throwing support behind any kind of homebrew thing, what I really don't want to do is I don't want to segment the population. Like when you show up to play Armada at a store, I want everybody to be on the same sheet of music. So I'm not going to be throwing my support behind anything too quickly. You know what I mean? Because there's plenty of stuff. Will there still be reprints? From what I hear, no. Let me pull it up real quick, because Asmodee says no. We're not gonna. They basically said there's a few things left, and get them while they're hot, which is just gonna really fuel. So Asmodee's thing, I'm reading it right now. If you search Asmodee on Facebook, it says, we would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt appreciation to Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada communities. While development of these games is ending, we will have a limited quantity of product available for purchase while supplies last. The adventure is far from over. We're here to support Atomic Mass Games through a farewell tour culminating in the Open Worlds Championship at Adepticon 2025. This will be a fantastic opportunity for fans to enjoy those games to the fullest. Why do you put terrible corporate excuse? This is not going to be the fullest. This will be the emptiest. This is going to be the end. It's not the full. It's not the best when it's at its worst. But fullest, maybe we'll still have a good time. I'm going to try to go to Adepticon next year. I'm planning to go, so maybe I'll be there. That is in the plans. I'm calling it now. But that's not all. Our dedication to the Star Wars galaxy remains stronger than ever. We're thrilled to bring you new adventures with ongoing expansions and development in both Star Wars Shatterpoint and Star Wars Legion. I don't know what the heck is going on. That's what Asmodee has to say. Limited stock, limited quantities available. It's bonkers. Why not at least do reprints? If you're ending development, this is the thing. You never had development for Armada. What were they developing? What ended? What resources did they free up at AMG? They're like, hey guys, take a break from the active X-Wing and Armada development and shift it over here. This isn't. I don't think the guys at AMG are to blame. I think this is more a corporate Asmodee thing. I think it's just the games were mismanaged from the very beginning. I don't think they should have ever left Fantasy Flight Games, although I hear the reasons why they did it. I just don't agree with them. But I'm not. That's not my arena. I'm not a CFO. I'm not a business development guy at Asmodee or Embracer Group or any of that stuff. So, my opinion probably counts just as much as anybody else's. But no, I don't have any ill will towards AMG with this. I kind of laugh a little bit at the statement though, because the wording of it is a little awkward. I'm like, come on, really? Is that? I mean, I get that this is that's the way they had to word it, but I think it's a little funny. The whole oh wait, you're ending development of Armada. Come on, guys. It's the elephant in the room. We all know you weren't actually developing anything new for Armada. I mean, they said it back in 2021. They said there was no development. Yeah. Yeah. Plot twist. AMG is no longer actively developing Armada. X-Wing is the bigger surprise, because they actually had developed at least cardboard expansions for X-Wing. There were some, because there were ships that came out, but those were done by FFG. So there was FFG ships that had come out that AMG brought across the finish line. But as far as AMG originals, they had done the standard loadouts. That's what the AMG wanted to do. And I'm a little surprised, because AMG had initially expressed some interest in keeping X-Wing going, at least on a cardboard level. I never thought that they were going to do new pre-painted plastic ships. As a matter of fact, numerous sources very close to individual sources who heard directly out of the mouths of people involved had told me point blank AMG was never going to do pre-painted plastic ships. So I feel like, from my perspective, I knew that they were never going to do pre-painted plastic ships. But then I think there's a little part of them in the back of my head that's like, maybe they'll do ships on a sprue. That's why I was always pushing for ships on a sprue, because I knew that was the only chance we were going to have. Unfortunately, that's not in the works right now. Now, here's why I'm not super, even though this is big news and it's still an interesting development, because there's a lot of stuff that's between the lines. The fact that they say we still have a limited supply available, I'm like, wait, so that means they're ending reprints also, which is a bummer. And maybe that's why if they had a Rapid Reinforcements 3, or if they had new stuff, that's why maybe they just said screw it. Because I had thought that there was a points rebalance coming. It's okay. The community can kind of take over that eventually. Again, nothing too soon. But yeah, very, very wild stuff. Very, very wild stuff. So I'm not too upset though, because I feel like I know X-Wing already has a group, a fairly popular homebrew community. I'm not sure how. Come to Adepticon. Milwaukee's great. I've already booked a hotel, so I'm planning on going. So hopefully I'll see you guys at Adepticon next year. Yeah. I'm going to get to some of your questions, and then we'll review everything. But I want to basically give you my reaction with X-Wing ending completely. I'm a little surprised because it had so much steam. It was really so popular. I think AMG's 2.5 rule set, while it did some things that people were happy about, I think it did a lot more harm than good for the player base as a whole. And a player base that had already been a little damaged with the transition from X-Wing 1.0 to 2.0. I know there were a lot of good things in X-Wing 2.0, but I know also a lot of you guys specifically told me you didn't like it. I didn't mind it. I think 2.0 didn't do enough. Like, I wanted to get rid of the excessive amounts of like cardboard chits. I wanted a way to reduce that. Like, I want to just, how about just one X-Wing cardboard token in the stand? I don't need it to say Wedge Antilles because I already have to mark it with a number anyway to match for target locks and stuff. So I already have to mark every ship with a number anyway. So why does it matter that it happens to say Wedge Antilles? You know, and why am I now tournament illegal if I can't find my Wedge Antilles one and I just put like, you know, Luke Skywalker's in there or Red Squadron or, you know, how about just this is an X-Wing, you know? I mean, frankly, like, I think that would have been the best thing to do for 2.0 from my perspective, because that's one of the things that made me not want to go out and play, because like, oh, I came up with this cool list. Oh no, but I had this bucket, like, I have multiple 5-gallon or gallon-sized bags, so I probably got 7-gallon bags of cardboard chits, and every time I wanted to play a new list, it just became increasingly difficult to go out and find the chit that I needed, and so that's one of the things that contributed to me playing less and less. That's just that's my rant. Maybe not everybody had the same problem, especially if you're a single faction player, it probably wasn't that big of an issue for you. But yeah, I am surprised that they didn't like announce like maybe just a change to X-Wing or keeping it going. Now, granted, this doesn't mean that new news can't also come out eventually. And I think that that's a possibility. Now, I don't want to make you think, oh, Crabbok's in denial. He still has hope. I always have hope, because if a game is good, I think people are going to keep playing it. So I always have hope. I know we're going to keep playing these games. I know X-Wing players are going to keep playing X-Wing. I'll probably still play X-Wing sometimes on the Fly Casual app, although I don't know if I'm probably going to get rid of a lot of my X-Wing stuff, but I'm going to keep all my ships, because the ships are still really cool. I bought into this game knowing that I was going to have really cool plastic miniature ships that, if nothing else, I could keep them and enjoy them as much as I still have micro machines today. So that's fine. Did their expletive X-Wing 2.5 hurt their sales or something? I don't think it was just that, although I think it did some harm. I'm getting to you guys. But for Armada, I'm a little relieved. This is going to sound completely bonkers to some of you, but I actually think this is good news for Armada. I actually think this is it's a positive takeaway from my perspective, and I'll explain why. It's a relief. It's something we all knew was coming. I mean, I say that in a generalized statement. Maybe some of you didn't agree with me or whatever. But I feel like this is a news announcement, especially after they removed all the product and then refused to talk about it. Like, that was really bizarre to me. Like, why would you remove all of the product from your store and then you refuse to say anything? Like, it's frustrating because I talked to certain people at AMG, and I know that they couldn't say anything, but like, the answer that I got was like, oh, maybe there was a sudden run up on product after the latest interview. Maybe you inspired everybody to buy everything. And I know that was like joking, like tongue in cheek, but it's just annoying, like, because I'm naive. Because even though like I'll be 99% sure, I'm like, oh, that means this is the end. There's that 1% of me that's like, but what if it's something more? So seeing this is a relief to me, because it's like, okay, good, I can put a bookend on the speculation. Is it going to end? And I think that's a positive takeaway here, is that we can put a bookend on the speculation. They've officially announced the end of development for X-Wing and Armada. That's why I'm saying this is okay. Legion, people asking about Legion, we'll talk about that, but let me just say, I am certain that for the foreseeable future, Legion is fine. I'll talk about that in another video. I don't want to detract too much, and I don't want to come off as fear-mongering to Legion people at all. They just announced they're redoing everything in Legion in hard plastic. They're upgrading the entire game, and they have big news coming in July. So I think Legion's going to be okay. And they like Legion, and Legion's profitable. So all that can be reserved for another video. If you're just joining in, Yes, AMG and Armada are done. In short, not dead. And the reason I'm deliberately avoiding that term because Armada has been growing despite no product for the last 4 years. All they've said is no product for the next 4 years, and for the next 40 years, or until somebody else, some other studio makes, or until the community takes over, or until there's another, until there's something like that. So let's see. Wow, there's a lot of comments. There's too much for me to get to. I'm sorry. There's a lot of comments coming in. I'm gonna get to them to a degree, but I want to finish the idea of why I'm a little optimistic about the Armada news and why I still feel kind of good about the Armada news. For one, it's a bookend. It's closure. It answers the question that everybody's been asking, and we all kind of sort of knew the answer to. There's been writing on the wall, and now it's in front of our faces. Yes, thank you for... I just think it's funny the way it was worded. Like, come on. You never started development. How can you end that which has never started? How can you kill that which has no life? How can you end that which has never begun? And I feel similarly with X-Wing, because their remark... Let me pull it back up. I'm going to pull it back up so you guys don't have to take my word for what's being said. Here it is on the screen again. The update for X-Wing and Armada. They talk about related challenges have made it increasingly difficult to produce high-quality pre-painted miniatures, which ultimately led to the decision to end development. And while that is, I'm sure, an accurate statement, I don't think AMG has ever produced a pre-painted miniature. I mean, I guess it depends on what produce means, because like they did help like the last couple of waves of X-Wing kind of cross the finish line, but those were already started and initiated and kind of, made by FFG, with just AMG kind of taking the reins at the end. It's like, okay, we'll make sure that the shipment gets, shipped out to distribution centers and stuff like that. And really the reason for all this is, while these games were profitable, they didn't produce quite as much profit, because again, it's more expensive it's cheaper to make a miniatures game than when the mini's on a frame, and it's more expensive to take that same frame, hire somebody else to clip it, glue it all together, and then paint it, and do it perfectly. Because from what I've been told, now I haven't been out there, but from what I've been told by people who are experts on the industry and how this works, is that there's not actually like a robot that does it. It's not like just a machine that would do this, that these are done by hand. Now there are stencils and stuff like that, so there are some guides, so it's not like you have expert people doing it, but there's some stencils, but they still have to have a person doing each one of these. So it really increases the time to get these made and the cost of it. But this is just industry stuff, how it generally happens. I mean, I don't know, maybe there will be a machine soon, or maybe there is some, but I don't think that's how these were done. And this was years ago when I've been told that. And these games have been profitable, but not as profitable. And considering the Embracer Group stuff and X-Wing and Armada not making as much money, but now all of a sudden they have, Asmodee as a whole has to generate massive amounts of profit. I think their efforts are going to be more in games that are cheaper to produce and have more profit. I think we'll see more card games come out. I'm really astounded with the incredible shortage of Star Wars Unlimited supply. Somebody actually, my good friend JJ, just linked me carabast.net and for Star Wars Unlimited, so now I can just play that online and I don't ever have to buy any Star Wars Unlimited ever again. Although I'll still probably buy some, because I'll still do if I can. That's a big if I can. But so yeah, very, very interesting. So X-Wing: The Old World. So let's talk about that. I'm going to get to some of your questions because I have some ideas about the future and what might happen. Let's see. Do you think this will make prices on eBay go up more for X-Wing? Oh, of course. The fact that Asmodee said, "Oh, we have limited stock available," everything's going to double at least instantly. I know a lot of stuff already has. A lot of the Armada stuff is already ridiculously costed. Let's see. Shatterpoint ain't good like X-Wing. No, I don't like Shatterpoint. It's okay. It's just I don't like. It's got a lot of rules specific things that I have issues with. Like, I can't kill a B1 battle droid, and it can just keep pushing me off the point, and I cannot kill it. It's immune to damage. Anakin Skywalker can't kill a B1 battle droid, not a single one, unless my opponent lets me kill it. They have to deliberately activate it that last time. You know, like that annoys the heck out of me, because it takes a game that looks so realistic and it applies these rules that are incredibly abstract. Like this B1 battle droid's immune to all attacks and all damage, cannot be harmed. You could push it away, but you can't damage it. And then even if you push it away, I can do things that can still let it move and shoot or shoot. You know, I don't know. Like, I think Shatterpoint needs a major rules overhaul for me to be able to enjoy it. Peter says I have to play Fly Casual today to soothe my pain. I feel like miniatures games as a whole have less profits in the past year or two. Maybe. The thing is, if that's the case, though, if miniatures games are the problems, then just shut down AMG altogether, right? And I'm saying that facetiously. I don't really mean to do that. They make beautiful miniatures games. I got this one right here. I went out and bought this because I like Marvel Crisis Protocol. I like what AMG is capable of doing. Yeah, and I haven't done an unboxing of this yet. I'll get to it. I'm busy. Been very busy. But that's why I'm doing this as a live stream instead of a recorded video. I just wanted to get initial reactions out there. Craziness, though. Craziness that they're just announcing the end. Do you think Will Schick knew this before you interviewed him? Oh, yeah. Of course. But he couldn't say it yet. He had to wait for things to get approval. I'm sure that they probably had to get Lucasfilm to sign off on this particular announcement and the way it was worded. I'm sure that that's how it works. Every person I've ever talked to about licensing, every person whoever's ever dealt with licensing, of course, the exact wording, of course, has to be approval. Because in theory, what if they said, "What's up? Live long and prosper, fans," or something like that. What if they just totally butchered it, and then that was associated with Star Wars X-Wing and the Star Wars name? So like, of course, they have to get all of this stuff approved, and it can take a while to get things approved, because from what I understand, there's different people in that position changes, and there's ultimately somebody at Lucasfilm that has to put the rubber stamp on stuff, but they also have every other property. So they have a stack of papers on their desks, so to speak, and they've got to approve a lot of stuff. So it's a complicated situation. That ain't anybody's fault. That's just business. That's just the way things work. So let's talk about the future. So somebody has said X-Wing 3.0, and will they make another game? X-Wing, the old world. So let's talk about what I think the future might hold. The future might hold a lot of things. Again, I've talked about communities possibly coming together to keep these games going. I definitely expect that to happen. And I also definitely expect that there's a very real chance that we're going to see a new game. AMG stuff's like, we're still committed to Star Wars and your tabletop games. Like, I have a feeling we'll see a new space game that will be on a sprue. This way they don't have to upset new players. I would bet money, but there's no way to actually do it because it might not come out for years. We got a super chat from Rob, that Rob Human. What's going on, Rob? Thank you for the super chat, buddy. I really appreciate that. You're just warming my heart. What a great, awesome dude. Thank you, Rob. He says, now that there is an even bigger vacuum of Starship games, what would a new rule set for a Starship game have to have for me to be excited about it? Wow, that's an incredible question. What would a new... Well, I mean, because I'm already excited about... So the rule set is the key there, because initially I would have just said the miniatures have to be good. I would have just said the miniatures have to be good for a new game, and they definitely are for Star Trek Into the Unknown. I can't wait to see more. There should be more of that coming soon, too, by the way. Let's play Star Trek Into the Unknown. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I'm all about it. It's... where is it? I can't make content with it yet. It's just off screen. I have the preview copy. I'm not allowed to make content with it yet, guys. There's legal reasons and stuff, and you know, there's agreements there. But so I can still talk loosely about it without making content with the new kit. So yeah, no, I'm excited for that game. It's going to be a different experience, but that's cool. As far as some rule sets, I'll try to talk about this. I would love to see games be, let's talk about general rule sets and some things I've liked. If a game is going to be quick, and I think quick gameplay is likely. I could see some games being quick play. If a game's going to be quick play, I think it might be best if it launches as a 3x3. I can play it on a 3x3, and maybe I can do an expandable version for a 3x6. You know, I would like for a game to be able to be playable on both of those, but be designed primarily for 3x3. That's something I would like, because I've got 3x3 playmats, and I've also got a couple of 3x6 playmats that I'd love for them to still have use. A game like Snapship's Tactics that I've talked about. You can play that on any size mat you want. It's designed primarily for a 3x3, but we've played it on a 3x6, and it is marvelous on a 3x6. So little shout out to Snapship's Tactics. We've worked with them in the past. I think they have some new stuff coming out. I should probably do another Snapship's Tactics video here in the not-too-distant future. So that's one thing, is the play area. I'd like for it to work on a 3x3 and a 3x6 also, both. 3x3 is probably better for long-term health of the game, because you can get... you dodged the question, yeah. All right, so let's talk about specific rules. I would like rule sets that can allow for more than 2 players. I would like rule sets for like a 3-player... I hate when you show up to a game night and you have 3 people, and so one person's got to sit out. Okay? So that I would love for a rule set that involves more than 3 players. That's a good one. Let's talk about some other specifics. I like the idea of when a ship blows up, when a ship is destroyed, that something cool happens. One game that I didn't get that deep into, but that kind of hit that was my favorite part of that game, was Drop Fleet Commander. And I wish I could do more content on Drop Fleet Commander, but I just don't know anybody who plays it. I don't fully understand the rules, and I just haven't gotten that deep into it. And with the limited time I have, I'm less likely to really try to get deep into it without even anybody to play with. So I was the last time I was at Gen Con, the TT Combat had a booth there, and they were demoing games, and I said, can I get a demo of Drop Fleet Commander? I would love to actually learn properly from a real human. And they're like, oh, we're demoing every game except that one. We're not teaching that one. And I'm like, not teaching it today? They're like, no, not teaching it the whole con. And I was like, that was I was really trying, because that's a game I'd like to learn more of. Just a hard one to get into right now. But they had a really cool system that when a ship blew up, it would explode, and you would roll. So there were different types of explosions. So you might get a small explosion, you might get a massive explosion. So there was stuff like that could happen. And then it was possible, and this happened in like a test game I played with somebody. We didn't have all the rules right. We were trying to feel out some of the mechanics, where a ship blows up and it damages the ship next to it, and then that ship can then blow up, and then you could start a chain reaction. So that was cool. I liked that aspect. Another aspect that I really like, and this is one from Snapship's Tactics, is that for your upgrades, you can actually see them on the ship. So, for example, if I want the big heavy laser cannon, I actually put the plastic of the big heavy laser cannon on the ship. Snapship's Tactics that's their whole MO, that's their whole thing. So that was also really cool. Battlefleet Gothic also had ship explosions. I would love a Battlefleet Gothic relaunch. I've heard rumors that that's a possibility, but I haven't heard anything new. I mean, the big focus is on Age of Sigmar, 4th edition. Another super chat from Rob. Whoa, what's going on, man? This is incredible. Thank you for the support. You are awesome. Thank you so much. Rob says, agreed. A battle royale mode that was designed in from the start would really let a game stand apart. I agree 100%. I feel like that would work better in an X-Wing style game because you have formats that seem to work well for that. And it might be a little harder to have a battle royale mode for a larger capital ship or a naval combat game. It'd be hard. It's doable, but it would be possibly a little bit harder. I spent some time trying to develop a battle royale mode with like a mystery trader mechanic, like which opponent is the one that I actually am supposed to kill, which one of these ships actually has my prisoner? Like I'm, the princess of our home planet aboard. I need to go after that planet, but I don't know where she is. And if I destroy the wrong ship, it could mean war, And I was trying to come up with all kinds of stuff to make a game of Armada have like multiple players, but not have it not just be where one person's sitting out. And there's thoughts of like you have to attack left to defend right and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways to do it. That's one of those things. So I think that's some of it. I definitely would love. I actually wouldn't be opposed to a game that, and this is tricky, but a game that kind of has, how X-Wing had standard loadouts that AMG was introducing. I kind of liked that, but they weren't. I don't know if they weren't balanced well enough compared to the regular games because they were a little overpowered. So I wouldn't mind if a game just had ship cards and they were without upgrades, and the upgrades are basically just built into the ship cards, kind of like how Marvel Crisis Protocol does it. Because that's a 50-50. I know not everybody's going to agree with that, but hear me out when I say that. Suppose you've got, I'll use Armada for example. Suppose you had a Star Destroyer and it was like Devastator, and let's say it was instead of just Imperial Star Destroyer, it was Imperial Star Destroyer Devastator, and it was this many points. And on the ship card, it's like it's got this. Its dice are different because it's got different turbo lasers on there and stuff like that. And maybe you've got generic Star Destroyer that's less points that only has like one upgrade on it. So just have some pre-built ones. You would still have upgrades because you choose which Star Destroyer card you want. But what that might do is it might make it easier to digging through upgrade cards. It might make it easier because you don't have to worry about, hey, this one upgrade kind of breaks the game because it's the best best defensive retrofit and everybody takes it all the time, stuff like that. It's something that if it was done well, I think could be great and could offer a very quick way to set up and play, and that could be pretty cool. But it's a give and take because it takes away the whole I'm going to actually customize my fleet, Yeah. You could also have a kind of modular style ship that has pods or something that lends itself to more upgrades and critical components playstyle. You could. There's an elegant way to. Yeah, no, there definitely is. There's an elegant way to do both. I do expect, and I like the way that Star Trek has that approach because their ships are just ships. There's no ship upgrades, but there are officers, so you can take crew on your ship. So that's the only upgrade. You're not. Although I think they might actually have other stuff, the potential for other stuff, like maybe put a cloaking device on the ship or something like that. But for the most part, everything I've seen right now is it has officers. So that's interesting. So if you guys are just joining us, they did announce the end of X-Wing and Armada. Those games are officially done with development. But it doesn't mean you're not going to be able to play them. Organized play support continues through 2025, culminating in Worlds. So, does your local shop sell Armada? Yes, they do. Poland 804. I play at Coliseum of Comics, East Colonial in Orlando, Florida. And they do sell. They don't have a ton of stuff in stock right now, but they definitely still have Armada. So here's what I think. I think AMG will have a new ship game. And I don't know if it will be good or bad. I have no idea because I'm just saying I think they're just going to use that space. I know they like to customize miniatures, and I feel like if you're making a new X-Wing, maybe a different scale, maybe the X-Wing's a little larger, maybe it's just going to be a dogfighting game, it's a little closer, maybe it's a larger X-Wing. How are you going to do terrain? How are you going to do posing for that? I mean, I guess you can open and close S-foils, but they can't do all the dynamic, miniature quality stuff that they have been doing with all their other games. So they may not want to do that. AMG, if I had to guess, I would guess AMG wants to do just, dudes on a map kind of games. I want to be able to have some dude bent over this way and bent over that way and shooting and sword fighting and swinging nunchucks and stuff like that. Michael says Imperial Assault is also secretly going away. Well, that one was a complete game. That one ended development many, many years ago. So that one doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's remained in print for a long time. So I don't know. Yeah, new game 2026. I think that's very likely. I think that's extremely likely. And the thing is, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The new game experience is fun. It's a bad thing if you have a very limited budget, like a lot of you do, and you wanted this game that you bought into to be the game that carries you for forever. And you can still play these games forever, but we're not gonna pretend it's not different. If a game is actively supported, it feels different. You have new players coming in all the time. We still do get a lot of new players in these games, but it's different in different communities. Not every community has that. And when a game is new and hot, it's going to be on every store shelf. People are going to be talking about it. And so, it's definitely different. You seem upset, my friend. I'm not particularly upset. I've had a very stressful week for other unrelated things unrelated to this channel and gaming and stuff. So I've had some stuff going on, but nothing bad. Just very active. Very busy. I've been very, very busy, and so that just raises a general stress level. And so this that may be reflective of it. So this just kind of kicked it up a little bit more. But overall, I feel relieved because of the answer that we kind of all knew was coming. Not surprised, not upset, but disappointed. I don't even know if disappointed is the thing, but yeah, I think the disappointed thing was a while back when they refused to give us information. That's when I was disappointed. So I'm glad they could actually give us the information. I'm glad that it's actually out there. I'm glad it's official. I'm glad we know. I'm glad we can talk about it now. I'm glad that a lot of the speculation on what AMG is going to do with these games can now come to an end. And where I'm excited, here's where I'm excited. This opens up a whole new realm of speculation as to what's the next game going to be. Because I'm sure they've got to make a space game. I hope they make multiple space games. I love space games. Space games are some of my favorite games. Star Wars Rebellion is now the only active space game. I hope Rebellion doesn't go away. Yeah. And oh gosh, what's that? There's what's that MMO? Eve. There's an Eve tabletop game that was on Kickstarter. I backed that, and then that one's it'll probably show up next year or whatever. But that one looks really fun too. Asmodee is removing Imperial Assault that sells out. Well, anything that sells out, they remove. So yeah, it opens up bandwidth for AMG devs. So Outriders, what's going on, Outriders? I don't know how you guys are doing. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I think Legion's going to be perfectly fine, by the way. But yeah, so while I think on paper it opens up bandwidth for AMG devs, I don't think that AMG devs were really spending any bandwidth on X-Wing and Armada. If anything, it opens up bandwidth for AMG Discord moderators. It opens up bandwidth for their people who have to answer questions about these games. They can then, but as far as the game development, I don't think there ever was game development for Armada. There was I think they had one person answering rules questions on the forums at any given time. But I think that was all contracted out. So I don't think it takes like Will Schick away from, it was not like Will Schick's like, oh, I had to spend so much time working on Armada. I mean, it means that when he does an interview with me again, if that ever happens again, I won't have to ask him questions about Armada and X-Wing. So that means more time for us to talk, for me to talk to you guys about Legion when I'm talking to AMG folks. And we'll probably talk a little MCP and Shatterpoint also. I mean, I could get behind Shatterpoint if they did some rules changes to make it more enjoyable for me. But like Marvel Crisis Protocol is extremely enjoyable. Like it's one of my favorite games. It's surprising that I don't talk about it very much on the channel. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like my audience generally isn't interested in Marvel Crisis Protocol, so like I'll do occasional videos here and there. But like you guys have basically told me like we don't watch that crap. I'll have like 3,000 views on an X-Wing video, and I'll have like 80 views on an MCP video or something like that. Like, it's crazy. So you guys definitely aren't interested in Marvel Crisis Protocol. So I usually try to bring to you guys what you want. That doesn't mean I'll only do stuff for the clicks. I'll play Marvel Crisis Protocol for myself, because it's fun. And I talk about it sometimes, So you've been Rob says, you've been very clear that you're not endorsing a homebrew project for Armada with very good reason. Are you looking around them to see if you want to endorse one or more? I have not. So this news just dropped, and I just walked over here, and once it dropped, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go live stream. Let's just get a little. So, no, I think what will happen is what I have been doing is I've been talking to some other community folks, and that's, I think what has to happen is everybody who is a community leader probably has to be on the same sheet of music with each other, because what we can't do is present a divided front. So and what that means is, like, if this YouTube, or if this YouTuber or this blog says, oh, well, we're gonna make our own, I then have to say, well, is that something I want to be on board with? Because I don't want to have been like, oh, no, play this one. And then everybody's saying, play this. And then nobody, then the only person you have to play with is that friend who also subscribes to the same version that you do. So I want to do my best efforts to make sure that all of the community, anybody who is going to endorse something, endorses the same thing, and so that we're all on the same sheet of music. Doesn't mean you can't also play your own homebrew. Again, homebrew is fine for like a one-off game or whatever. I like to play this with this person. Cool, man. Have fun doing it. But as a community, as an organized community, I think we all need to be on the same sheet of music. But yes, and I'm sure there will be some 3D printing stuff and all of that. Yes, that's going to be a part of it for sure. Of course, it's going to have to be. And there's enough people. One of the biggest drawbacks for that for the longest time was the lack of bases, the lack of proper bases for stuff. X-Wing had a little bit less of an issue because there were the acrylic bases, although they never made them in medium. But like these bases and all of this stuff, there's more and more better 3D printed options, because again, you got to get this part right. You got to get that part right. Otherwise, you don't have a game. You got to have hell, you don't even need ships. You could just play with the base and the cardboard. But I mean, the ships are fun. You kind of need the ships. The only thing that I would suggest, if we can, as a community, I would love to see these bases raised up about a millimeter or two, raised up about a millimeter or two, because there's so many times where you land on an obstacle, and if there's like, and then your ship just kind of spins because this stuff under here and these little divots, like they make contact with the obstacle, and you just you need another millimeter or two, and that's what I would like. That's something where we can probably improve over the existing product. I want taller bases, just on the underneath. It can end up being the same height as a whole, because you could shrink this part, you could shrink that part a little bit so that it's as a whole. But I would love for this part to come up just a millimeter or two, so that yes, you don't spin on the on every single obstacle. They ended Armada. Yes. So if you're just joining us, yes, AMG and Asmodee both confirmed. Today is the end of development for X-Wing and Armada. They will still get organized play support ending in Worlds 2025. So at Adepticon next year will be the very last organized play stuff. And that's another thing too. And hear me out. With going to any official community support, that won't be used or legal at Worlds. So if we want to actually participate in grand tournaments and store tournament kits and Worlds of 2025, we won't be able to use any homebrew stuff. So if people are looking for homebrew, you're not even going to be able to do it as an official community until after Worlds. So but that gives us plenty of time to look into things and to be able to make some kind of announcement after World, or at least maybe some official launch after Worlds, and then have a new season. Although I don't know, I don't know what's gonna happen. But then again, also it's possible that, and this is just speculative, but it is possible that Armada could eventually go to another company, and maybe since Christian Peterson was initially one of the people who who was the head of studio for FFG when Armada was launched, and it was like, I believe he was his brainchild. He's like, I want Empire at War on the tabletop. He formed Ghost Galaxy, and they bought Keyforge from FFG, and then they bought the Game Center from FFG. So he's kind of like, little by little, was like getting his old company back, right? It might be possible that X-Wing and Armada go back to Christian Peterson, and he crowdfunds them. And maybe they're more expensive because, again, it is more expensive to make this stuff. But I would love that. And maybe we'll get news like that someday. Obviously, it won't be today. It's not going to be like on the heels of this. But, I mean, maybe another company will do it. Or maybe it'll just be the system. There may be, and hear me out, there may be another system that uses the same Armada rule set or X-Wing rule set that could potentially fill that void. I would love like a Twilight Imperium Armada. I would love, a pirate ship version, or maybe it is like an X-Wing game, but it's sharks, or something like. They did a dragons one, So okay. Matthias Greyjoy says, so Clone Wars never got Architons, Lucrehulk, Z95s, Edda 2 gunships, or Rogue Class, or Nantex at a minimum. These seem missing. Plus a Dreadnought for every faction. Absolutely. Those are definitely, as far as the lore is concerned, those are some of the most critical ships and squadrons that should show up in the game. However, what I would do, if I were running a homebrew community, and if I were running like a continuing committee or whatever Armada going forward, I wouldn't jump to put those into the game. I wouldn't jump to put those into the game officially. What I could consider doing, especially for certain things that are going to be very, very similar, maybe I make like a Dreadnought alternate art card, and it's still the Assault Frigate Mark II, And so you can still run your Dreadnought, but it's the Assault Frigate. So balance reasons, so nothing's thrown out of whack or whatever, until there comes time to really develop. Like, I think the Architons for the Republic is definitely a need. I think there's, especially with Anakin now existing for the Republic, I think there's definitely a need for an Architons for the Republic, although getting the balance right there it could be game breaking. It could make the Republic the most powerful faction, If a new company took over, they would have to obtain a license from Disney. Unlikely. Well, here's the thing, Outrider Dan. There is plenty of companies that already have the Star Wars license. CMON, for example, is doing the Marvel United, right? They've done Marvel United. They're doing DC United right now with Spin Master Games. Spin Master Games has a Star Wars license, and they have the license to make Star Wars games, yet they have zero. They have 0 Star Wars games, yet they have a license to make Star Wars games, which is really interesting. And they're not the only company that has a license to make Star Wars games. So it could be, things can happen, is all I'm saying, is things like that can happen. And I think they're more likely than we think because I feel like Star Wars has been a lot more loose. And Disney has been a little bit more loose. Lucasfilm has been a little bit more loose. We've got so many games out of like we just did this one, Star Wars Bounty Hunters. I mean, like, it's okay. You know, it's okay, but like they're just, but it doesn't feel, the theming for it doesn't feel any way like Star Wars. So I feel like lately we've just been getting Star Wars game after Star Wars game, slapping that license on all kinds of stuff. You know, Elon Musk has acquired the X-Wing license, X-Wing to be renamed X. That would be, I'm not touching that one. I'm not touching that. Never mind. No, but yeah. So we'll see what happens. We're going to wrap things up here in a little bit, guys. If you're just joining us, AMG has announced that X-Wing and Armada are now done as far as development concerns. I'm just so surprised that X-Wing isn't going somewhere else. You took one of the most popular miniatures games of all time. X-Wing just was exploded. It was a contender. Everywhere there was miniatures games being played, it was an X-Wing community. Armada also belongs in that discussion, but didn't quite hit the heights that X-Wing hit, but still was also one of the top miniatures games. So you're taking two of the top miniatures games of all time, but especially X-Wing, and just shut it down. I feel like the name alone is just a cash cow. It was so popular, multiple other games like WizKids based Star Trek Attack Wing off of it, and then the Dungeons and Dragons Attack Wing. They had a dragon flying game, and the interesting thing for me also is that WizKids also could be the next person. Maybe WizKids will get the Star Wars license, or maybe Renegade Games. They have lots of licensed games. You know, Alex Davies over at Renegade Games now. You know, who knows what might happen? There's so much speculation that could happen. It's wild. So, you know, there's plenty that can happen. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm glad that we have some closure though. The Acolyte is introducing new ships. Yeah. Well, and I want to go back to that Rob human. If you're still here, Rob, you once asked earlier, like, what was a rule set that would make me excited about Starship game, a new Starship game? What's something that I would be looking to? One of the things that I'd be looking to in that, especially if it was a Star Wars game, if they do a new game, I would be looking for them to do multi-eras. I want them to not just do canon, Rebels, and Empire. I want kind of like how Shatterpoint's able to cross multi-era, you know, and get stuff that's a little uncommon. If a new Star Wars game came out that had the option, and they said it from the get-go, hey, we can do lots of different factions here. We can do the Chiss. We can do Admiral Aralani and the Chiss Expansionary Defense Fleet. I would be 100% in from the announcement, and I'd even be willing to overlook less than great rules, right? If that were the case. Of course, and then I'd hopefully try to give feedback and be like, hey guys, I love it, and you can make it even better by doing this, right? You know, so I would do that sort of thing. If that were the case, I'd be in a heartbeat. If they had the fleets of the High Republic and the Nihil, like, if you've read those books, they're really cool, and they do very cool things with space battles. Like the Nihil are like very, very like terrorist like, and they have unconventional tactics, and they dropped like toxic sludge barrels in space, and it interfered with the you know, like there's all these weird tactics that you just haven't seen before, and so it gives you such cool options. And yes, even though it's unpopular amongst some fans, sequel trilogy, the ships look really cool. I want the door open to be able to do sequel trilogy stuff, and that means I also want the scope to be there to be able to do really large ships. You know, if for all of you asking about Legion is fine. Legion is actually one of Asmodee's #1 selling games. It's in one of their most popular. Like when you look at their top 5, for Embracer Group said this even. One of them is Ticket to Ride, which is one of the most popular games of all time. The other one of their top stuff is Legion, Star Wars Legion. I think Star Wars Unlimited will be up there in the next like quarterly report or whatever that they do. But yeah, Legion is A-okay. I would say out of all of the games that exist, I would say Shatterpoint is by far more at risk than Star Wars Legion. I would say even Marvel Crisis Protocol might be more at risk than Star Wars Legion. I think Legion is the most safe game that there is. again, that's my opinion. That's based on what I see. But again, I'm not trying to throw shade on those games for that reason. Especially Marvel Crisis Protocol. I love the game, but I'm pretty sure Legion is fine, and I really hope we get Gungans for Legion. So yeah, Legion's gonna be totally cool. You play. Don't talk about Kathleen Kennedy. She's wonderful. You know why? Because there's so many great things that Disney has done with Star Wars. Do you like The Mandalorian? Do you like Rogue One? Did you like that Mandalorian season 2 finale? Oh my! I get that there are some criticisms, and I get that. People like jump all over the place and stuff like that, but I don't think it's fair to focus on the criticisms for somebody without also giving them the credit for the good things, you know. And that's my take. You don't have to agree with me. That's my take. Hopefully at least you understand where I'm coming from. You can definitely be upset with somebody. You can definitely be upset with somebody's decisions. But I would encourage you to, if you're going to do that, also be willing to give them credit for their wins. You know, that's what I'm saying. All right. Yeah, and I don't know too much about her personally. Like, I'm not friends with her on Facebook. I don't know. Maybe she's actually a terrible person. I don't know. But what I give her credit for, is all of the things that Disney has, that she's been, again, if she's at the top, she gets credit for the failures and the successes. Star Wars Rebels, okay, one of the greatest shows ever. An unbelievable titan of animation and storytelling. Rogue One had one of, some of the greatest scenes and largely hailed as one of the greatest things on screen in decades. Wonderful. Mandalorian, one of the greatest shows ever. I don't think these guys are necessarily trolling. I think people have strong opinions about stuff, so I'm just here to give some context. And I'm way off topic of the video right now. Toxic fans destroyed Star Wars. I don't think anybody destroyed Star Wars. I think there are toxic people. I also think there's a lot of content creators that have learned that there's way more clicks in bad news than good news. Hence this live stream right now. Look how many viewers we have. Versus if I just did a live stream yesterday, it's just like, hey guys, let's come hang out and chat. I would have a fraction of the views we have right now. Because excitement and insatiable storytelling is where the draw comes from. But frankly, I made a decision after episode 8. I had a moment where I was like, I could really grow the channel if I decided to be outraged with Star Wars, because there were certain things that I didn't like. There were things, but I chose to focus on the things that I do like, and I'm proud of that choice, even if it means I could have, a couple 100,000 subscribers more by now. I chose to try to remain more on the positive side, but at the same time, I'm not going to be a shill. There are criticisms, and I get those. But I think you got to take the good with the bad. And as a whole, I'm still happy to be a Star Wars fan. There are things I don't like. We can talk about those maybe in another stream, But yeah, so that's about it. Boba Fett stunk? No, it could have been better, but it had some cool stuff. I love the finale. The finale for me was really cool for Book of Boba Fett. But it had, there's criticisms. Yeah. All right. What does this mean for my channel? Not much. Well, here. So, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that my X-Wing coverage is fairly limited. I don't do I haven't had a single X-Wing unboxing in years, right? My Armada coverage has been pretty strong, and I haven't had an Armada unboxing in years. So I'm going to still cover Armada. I'm still going to play. I'll still do battle reports, tournament reports, list building ideas. I want to do a little bit more on the 600 point side for Armada. There's plenty of games left to play, and then of course the possibility of community-led efforts for these games, and that may even extend into X-Wing. I don't know if it's my place to really endorse an X-Wing community, because again, my X-Wing coverage is I've distanced a little bit from X-Wing. I don't play competitive X-Wing anymore, although I still play competitive Armada. So. I think, but my philosophy will still stand firm, is that I probably won't, officially endorse any kind of X-Wing homebrew system until like all community leaders are kind of on board, and then we'd be willing to throw my support behind that. And I know there are some that have already kind of taken, got some steam for X-Wing. But from what I hear, there's also some people that are divided on whether or not they want to support that. So either way, yeah. So that's where it is. But yes, yeah. Let's see. What else? I'm looking for questions and stuff. I do want to take some of your questions before I wrap things up. Yeah. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of stuff here. Hope you guys are having a great day. I'm having a really interesting day today. So it's just business as usual. Yeah, it's business as usual for the channel. There's going to be a little more speculation on what might happen in the future with possibly other companies, but there'll be no more speculation about what's AMG going to do with X-Wing and Armada. I'll probably have some a regular video to summarize all of this in the future. I'll probably take a few days. And just process everything, feel things out, and yeah. But I'm still going to cover Legion too, and I'll still cover Mini Stravaganza. And this is really good for Mini Stravaganza, because now we won't have to ask those questions to AMG. We won't have to ask those questions to AMG about, how come there's no updates for X-Wing and Armada? We don't have to talk about that anymore. Those games are done. They're done. We don't have to talk about it anymore. So now, cover Shatterpoint more. I'll cover Shatterpoint a little bit. I'll be honest, the minis are cool. I'm almost done with all of my current Shatterpoint miniatures. I still have to base Cad Bane and stuff like that, but I'm almost done with that. I don't enjoy the gameplay for Shatterpoint as much, but I'm gonna go back to it and try it. Once I get the Rebels, once Rebels come out, I want to cover those guys, and I'm probably give them another shot. I got to be able to play the Ghost crew. I had some really bad experiences in some games of Shatterpoint, primarily with B1 battle droids. I don't know if they've been errated or whatever, but the concept of just not being able to kill something really annoys me, especially when it's put in a spot that it's really inconveniencing you. Especially in the case, I think it is a case like B1s and like Kalani and Kraken and stuff like that, where they can just another droid can now shoot somebody when you do this, and then so Kraken can stay safe, and then B1's up there. It's almost like a turret that can't be destroyed. Just boom, boom, and every time you activate Kraken, and then use your Shatterpoint card for Kraken, and so the B1s get to just go 3 or 4 times per round through the deck. You can't kill them. You can maybe push them, but then they get to move again, when the next Shatterpoint card comes out. So I don't know. So what changes do you need to make to Shatterpoint? It's tough because I can't tell you exactly what changes need to happen. I think it's worth playing a few more games and maybe putting some better notes together. Ultimately, though, and I know this is probably a bridge too far, but I wish Shatterpoint were more of a Marvel Crisis Protocol clone. Because there's things that now I like the combat trees in Shatterpoint. I think that's kind of cool, but I don't like that. I can't move terrain. I can't throw terrain. I can't use the force and throw a rock at you, or I can't even pick up and physically throw a rock at you. I really wish that Shatterpoint had included that as an ability. That bothers me. Because you can do it in Marvel Crisis Protocol, and it's really fun. And I feel like they threw away a really fun and thematic thing. And I know why they didn't do it. It was they wanted to keep the rules simpler, and they thought that added an extra layer of complexity, and it was a bridge too far or whatever. Okay, fine. It's not immersive. Oh, yeah, very true. The gameplay for Shatterpoint ends up being a lot more abstract. And that basically that Anakin can be completely... They can lose the game to B1s and can't kill B1s, as the example I always give. It's really interesting. Thought Donor Radio. What's going on, Thought Donor Radio? We appreciate the super chat. Got some socks in the wash today. Thanks for being on. Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. I actually need to try and... I have some plans for some sock merchandise to put on the channel as a gag, but also I got this. I used to have a lot of merch around COVID, and I had a lot of masks and face masks and shirts, and it was all Star Wars stuff. And it was brought to my attention. It's hey, I know you modified the designs a little bit, so you didn't copy an existing design, but you still are kind of stealing Star Wars IP. And I'm like, shoot, you're right. I probably shouldn't do that. So all my merch kind of went away. And so I need to do some more stuff. What's going on? Peter with a super chat. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's telling me, this is weird. I don't know if you guys can see this, but YouTube is telling me that this is Peter's third super chat on one of my live streams, which is really, really cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's really cool. So yeah, dude, we're talking about the X-Wing and Armada wrapping up. It's been a big news fest, a big news outlet. Will you please continue to do an occasional X-Wing Fly Casual battle report? Yeah, I'm gonna. I was actually thinking about doing one of those today. I don't know if I'm gonna have time. I've got a lot going on this weekend. A lot actually starts tomorrow, so or in a few hours actually. So, but no, I'll be, and it'd be a good, because when I do those Fly Casual battle reports, there's a lot of me just chatting, and so I'll probably have a lot to talk about with, like, I wonder if another company will pick up X-Wing. Here's some of the companies that I have in mind. But yeah, I really do like Fly Casual. Even though it's not fully updated, and I don't know if it's gotten any updated statuses in a while, because I know it's there's the whole situation in Ukraine, and that's affected it, and that's a bummer. The whole situation kind of is a bummer. I wish that could all just end, but yeah, no, Fly Casual. What I love about Fly Casual is that it's a lot more true to classic X-Wing, because it's a dogfight. It's not using those objectives. Like, I don't like what a lot of the stuff that AMG did. I don't like the points, and like how there's, like, it's the 20-point game now. I don't like that you just get these loadout points, and it feels like you kind of have to use all your points on everybody. I don't like that generics are more expensive and give you less than named pilots are. Like, it's unbelievably, just there's some really, really, I'm going to say stupid, but unfavorable, I guess is a better word, decisions made with the big X-Wing overhaul to 2.5. A lot of things that I really did not like. So, bring back generics. Yes, absolutely. Bring back generics. And one of the reasons I love generics is because it's quick and easy. Like, sometimes, like, hey, I just want to fly a TIE Swarm, or I just want to fly some TIE Interceptors, or maybe one names, Howl Runner and a bunch of Interceptors. Like, that was a cool. Can't really do that anymore. Re-asking in case you missed it, help me out. Oh, I may have missed it. I didn't play Shatterpoint. Was it Shatterpoint? How do you handle multiple eras specifically that you made you go, ooh? Oh, okay, so Shatterpoint has multiple eras. And Shatterpoint's almost like I think it's almost kind of like if Star Wars characters were playing a video game, right? That's why you can mix and match so much. There's no alignments in Shatterpoint. So I can take Darth Vader and give him, pair him up with Luke Skywalker and stuff like that. But characters do have an era. And so, like a Clone Wars era, and they have I think there's like 4 eras right now. You have the rise of the Empire, which is right after Clone Wars. So think Bad Batch timeline, and then they have, and the name, I might get the exact namings of these slightly wrong, so bear with me. But you have the Star Wars Rebels era, which is like up until like the Battle of Yavin, that includes like what Farm Boy Luke would be and stuff like that. And stupid was the right word. You can tell that's one of those things I have kind of strong opinions on, right? But then they also have I think the post Battle of Yavin Empire, like I think like the Age of Rebellion and stuff like that. And I think they even have one more for like Mando, like post Endor. And it's a way for them to kind of. But the thing is, when you're building a list in Shatterpoint, you're building 2 squads of basically 3 or 4 guys. The squads themselves have to be from the same era, because you need a primary, a secondary, and a support. And usually the supports are 2 miniatures, like 2 stormtroopers or 2 clone troopers, whatever. But so those squads have to be of the same era. So if I'm doing Darth Vader, well, actually Darth Vader is a cross era. They made Darth Vader. In that $100 Darth Vader, they made him like compatible with almost every single era. So bad example. So if I'm doing Anakin Skywalker, I can't put him with stormtroopers in that squad. But my second squad can be from any other era, as long as it in itself is self-contained. So I can still have Anakin Skywalker and Stormtroopers. I just have to have a Clone Wars era and then a Galactic Civil War era, and that's my whole strike team. So cross era would be neat, especially if you kind of treated it, if you marketed it as, think of this as a holo game or a simulation that the characters in Star Wars might play. Then you can justify saying Clone Wars versus Galactic Civil War era. If you're playing Empire, you can use surplus Republic stuff as a points premium. Yeah. I still want to see like a Rebellion 2.0 that involves a little bit of like Clone Wars or Clone Wars crossing over to Empire. Very cool stuff. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wind it down. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be doing some more stuff. Galaxy of Heroes, the tabletop game. No, absolutely. I do think there's more coming. Drop me some of your thoughts down in the video channel comments. If you're watching this after if you're playing Rebellion, you can have New Republic ships to represent some of the things coming off the assembly line. Oh yeah, all kinds of cool stuff. I know there's some homebrew stuff for Rebellion too, which I'm always afraid to get into. Check your Discord. Oh, I'm sure there's tons of stuff in my Discord. All right, I'll see you guys later. Thank you all so much for watching. And I will talk to you later. See ya. Big thanks to my patrons, too. Check Patreon. And thanks to all the super chats today, too. You guys are superstars. Love you all, and I'll see you soon. Keep playing games and be excellent to each other.